Excellent, excellent. Well, welcome everybody. It's Bref McHugh here, and we are back. We did our 2026 growth marketing plan at the end of 2025. We're coming back with a first quarter edition. And today, the whole message really is I'm here for you. If you're a medical and aesthetics practice, a medical or aesthetics, med spa, plastic cosmetic surgeon, medical wellness center, even vein centers, you're going to want to know what to do with your marketing and to make sure everything is working over the rest of the quarter and over the rest of the year. And so we're going to dig in, we're going to get started. And this isn't really theory. I'm going to be going through quite a lot of practical items here. I appreciate you all being here. I know that time is the most valuable resource that you have. And we want to make sure that you're able to build momentum and not to lose momentum as the year goes on. So real simple plan for the session here today is I really want to align on three main things. Figuring out, are you behind? What you need to do to fix the year, to get it started, and really to make sure that everything is working for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about and we're going to align on some goals and targets for the year. If you have, most of you have your goals set already. If you haven't, don't worry. We're going to touch on that to enable you to get your goals in place and also make sure that we're tracking and aligning so that you can achieve the results that you want this year, helping you to map out the plan to accomplish those goals that we're going to workshop today. I'm going to give you access to a number of free resources on the call. And we're going to really help you to map out everything from budgeting to the channels that you're going to be marketing on or currently marketing on that you need to track, perhaps optimize, understanding the important trends in the marketplace as we are now in motion in 2026. And I'm here to help to set you up for massive success in 2026 and beyond. So thanks for joining. If you are here, then you should have received an email already and you'll have access to the clinicroar.com/2026 plan. That is a workbook. I'm just going to show you what that looks like here when you click on that link, and I'll encourage you to do so. And Julian, if you could just drop that link for our guests in the channel, that would be awesome. Beautiful, beautiful. So this is what you are going to get access to. So you'll be able to copy that workbook. And as you do, and as you follow along, you'll be able to work on that live. So make sure that you hit that copy now. And once you do, you'll be able to make a copy for yourself. And within the workbook, you're going to be able to put that data in, to save it for yourself, and to actually use it throughout the course of the year. Okay. So keep that close, keep that handy. We'll be referring to that through the rest of the presentation here today. And if you're having any difficulty getting access to that, just let us know. Drop a message in the chat to us. Okay, cool. And so a little bit more about, who I am and why I'm here this evening. So I've been working with medical and aesthetic practices for over the last 15 to 20 years. When I look back at my marketing and consulting career, this extends over 20 years. I started Clinic Roar in 2017, and we work with medical spas, cosmetic clinics, vein centers. And what you're going to be experiencing today is an opportunity to create your own plan and to understand what's working in the marketplace. Okay. And so really my favorite thing is working with practices, helping them to optimize their schedules, to attract more patients. Our mission here at Clinic Roar really revolves around helping you help your patients, your clients to look better, to feel better, and to be better. And this is really what happens when these systems that we're talking about today are actually implemented. You'll see examples of some of the successes here. And we're here today to help you to build your success in 2026 and beyond. So we're not just an ad agency here at Clinic Roar, and I'm going to be going much beyond that today on the call to help you to set your year up for extreme success. We're really a true growth partner. And so, as I said, we help those medical and aesthetic practices to attract and convert patients. And that's the whole mantra behind the marketing components that we'll go over today, is to help you to do that, to grow your business and to help you to have that positive impact in your community as you help people look better, feel better, and be better versions of themselves. Okay. And so there's been some changes, a lot of changes actually. 2025 was really a year of a lot of change, especially when we look at AI and some of those things that we'll talk about. And this is why 2026 feels different. Patients are discovering practices through different ways, through artificial intelligence. It's not just Google. And I'm going to share some examples and some things that you'll want to understand so that you can ensure that you're not losing out to the changes as far as how patients are finding practices and becoming members in different practices and getting treatments. And this is an opportunity for you to understand that, to take action today, and to grow revenue. So number one is the popularity of AI. You may have Gemini, you may have ChatGPT on your phone, Claude, Perplexity. There's a number of different, there's a plethora of different AI tools, and patients are using them in order to find businesses, to solve problems. So you also want to consider how you're ranking in these AI chat engines. And we're going to go a little bit deeper on that today as well. Some of the other trends, short form video, your social media feeds, for example. If you're doing that, you're seeing the engagement, you're seeing the response, and you're seeing the results from that consistency of video creation, so that you're able to connect with your audience using things like before and after, behind the scenes, letting your patients really know more about your practice, really crucial for engagement. And we'll talk more about that. Authentic video content, user-generated content that really helps patients to answer the questions that are in their mind. And that also enables you to boost your expertise and to boost your knowledge so that you can help those patients solve their problems and get the treatments that they need in order to have that change that they're looking for. Now, online scheduling. Coincidentally, I spoke with a practice earlier today that still did not have online scheduling on their website. So if you're one of those practices, don't worry, but I highly recommend that you make that change. Online scheduling, simply patients prefer to schedule online directly today. Okay, you want to give them other opportunities to call, of course, but to text into the practice, but just giving them the opportunity to look at a calendar, because they probably have their phone, their calendar, so they can take that next step forward. And we'll talk more about that too. Also, AI lead follow-up. Still, at least half of the practices that I'll speak with, that are considering understanding more about our services at Clinic Roar, at least half of those are still not really leveraging AI and automation and lead follow-up. And it's a massive opportunity. So if you're looking at just 5 major trends, I'd ask you to kind of rate yourself. How are you doing with each of these? Have you been leveraging AI? Are you using short form video, authentic content, patient testimonials, those sorts of things? And also, are you embracing online scheduling and AI lead follow-up? There's probably a few of these areas that on the call today and on the workshop and this presentation, you're going to be able to make some progress and to put some focal points on things that you may need to do in order to improve the results for your business this year. Okay. And so when it comes to seeing those improvements and to taking action, number one, we've got to set some clear goals. And we're going to talk briefly about this. I would expect that a lot of us have our goals set, but would love to maybe just get a little bit of a pulse here. If you have your goals set already for 2026, you're already making progress, you're moving forward. Would love to see if you could just drop a set in the chat here so we can get a pulse and see who's rocking and rolling there already. Okay, so when it comes to setting goals, first and foremost, having that clarity, having that clear direction to shoot towards is crucial. And really everything starts here. If you don't know what you're aiming for, then you really can't build the system to hit it. And you can't build the road map in order to get to the destination that you're looking to get to. And if you've been to some of my presentations or webinars or even on the podcast, then you'll understand that I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, like many of my guests are as well. I love his quote. His quote is that goals are like magnets. They'll attract the things that make them come true. True words from Tony. What that really means is that without that clear direction, who knows where you'll end up? I had a guest recently on our Aesthetics Growth podcast, Laura Glazer, who was talking to me in the mindset of her future business self, which is that of a Fortune 500 company. She's got one location currently at the time that we spoke, but she's already talking from that perspective of Fortune 500. She's building those systems and setting those goals, those big, hairy, audacious goals that she's moving towards. I think it's crucial that we do that as well. Okay. I'm going to help you to get that done on the call, because the bottom line is that, if you're not setting those clear goals, and the goals are basically like wind. When you have them set, they're like the wind in your sails, and without them, the marketing can tend to drift. And it's like you may get stuck at sea if you don't have clear goals and you're measuring the progress along the way. So in order to help everybody to understand where they are, it's important to do a little self-assessment and to kind of understand where we are today in 2026, in January 2026, at the time of the recording here, at the beginning of the year. It's there's a few data points that I'd like you to write down. So you can use that workbook, the 2026 Growth Marketing Plan workbook. And there's a section in here where you can add the average ticket, the average value, the sales conversion rate. I'll just reshare what we're looking at here in case anybody's just joined. This is going to be on page 2 here, page 3, sorry, the 2026 growth marketing plan. So you can use that live workbook. I really encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you're putting the current snapshot in there and possibly even updating it. We're a few weeks now into the first quarter, so updating it based off current numbers. Maybe they've changed since you did this in December. So what's the average monthly revenue? Where are you currently and where are you looking to go? How many sales or transactions are you currently generating? Average appointment rate, some of these key performance indicators or KPIs, just a handful that are going to enable you when you're tracking them to keep you on course to achieving your goals, because these all feed in to some of the calculators and ROI calculators that we'll go through in just a little bit. Okay. So ensure that you're keeping a pulse on those data points. Now, when it comes to 2026, so having goals is great, right? We all want to increase our revenue. We want to grow our businesses. We want to increase profits. We want to have greater impact in the community. But a question that often goes, I think unfocused on and doesn't get enough attention is just exactly why we're doing it. So it's always really important to remind, and whether that's a sticky note on your front desk or, one of your points that you check in with every day, or notes on your phone, or a weekly reflection, really understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Because we all know that running a business is not the easiest thing in the world. If it was easy, everybody would do it, and especially growing successful businesses. So understand why you're doing what you're doing, because that is so important when it comes to making those breakthroughs and sometimes making tough decisions or brave decisions as you're looking to grow your business. Okay. So again, 2026 goal. What's your goal from a revenue standpoint? What is your goal from the number of appointments that you're looking to have per month? How many new patient consultations are you looking to have per month? Those new patients, of course, the lifeblood of the practice. Retention, of course, as well. We want to understand what that looks like from a membership standpoint, membership or retention. What's the month over month? What is the retention rate looking like for patients that come in month over month and year over year? And again, really understanding why you're doing all this in the first place. So for anybody who has been with us for the last few years, as we've been doing these annual and sometimes quarterly updates for the growth marketing plan, we had spreadsheets, and spreadsheets can get complicated, and formulas. And even though I like a good spreadsheet, my team has created some really good apps recently. And we've created this revenue growth target planner. So you have access to this. You can go to calculator.clinicgrower.com. That's also going to be linked on page 4 of your workbook. And when you go there, you're going to get access to a calculator, which I'm just going to pull over here. And this is going to give you the opportunity to plug in some key numbers. Okay. So what we want to do first of all is input the annual revenue goal, or that target that you wrote down on your plan. Okay. And so if you're shooting for 1.5 million this year, maybe you're already at the million mark, or you did 1.1 million, and we want to grow it by an additional 30%. So the annual revenue goal target, 1.5 million. What this is going to do is break it down automatically. What's your monthly revenue target? Okay. When you plug in your average transaction value, so perhaps that is for, it's going to vary depending on, number one, the exact type of services that you offer, the type of pricing that you have, and the type of patients that you attract for your practice. So maybe it's $1,200 for an average transaction. You're going to need to see 105 monthly patient sales or transactions overall to hit that monthly target number. Okay. If you're doing, let's say, for example, maybe it's if the average for that average transaction value is $750, then 167 transactions over the course of that month. Okay. So plug your numbers in there. Okay. It's going to make sense for you when you do that. And then important to put in the number of working or treatment or procedure days that you have. Average is going to be 21. When you do that, it's going to break it down. When we look at the numbers here, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. Well, I have to get 167 transactions. But the best way, of course, to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And so what you will do here is, as you input the data points, it'll break it down on the daily sales, the daily transactions, or the daily number of procedures that need to be done. Okay. So part 2, let me actually just check real quick. Is everybody's tracking here? Okay, Lacey, we've got the link for the calculator is in the chat for you. Just let me know if everybody's tracking here with the numbers. the part two of the calculator, again, it's really easy to use. You plug in your numbers, and then with the number of consults required to hit the target, this is where you'll input basically your conversion rate. So when you have a patient sitting across from you, a new patient, let's say you got it great, that's where you're going to put in what is your consult to sold treatment. That's something you should be tracking. So you're going to be able to track that, of course, in your EMR or from tracking from the number of patient consultations that you've had today, this month. What has the conversion rate been? Really crucial to know that, because guessing can be dangerous in this respect. So if, for example, we are converting the 40% from consult to treatment, you're going to need 418 consults per month to hit that target. Or 418, when we say consults, it will be consultations for some practices. I'm just going to back up here to show you how these numbers are impacted, because if your patient is, if it's a $2,000 patient, and the consult to treatment is 50%, then that's, and there's 21 working days or procedure days, then that's going to be 126 consults to hit that specific target. Okay. Also, really important to understand that you're going to have a baseline of treatments and consultations already. So this annual revenue target, if it's 1.5 million, then of course you may already be generating that 1.1 million. So another way you can use it is just to put in what's that new revenue goal. You want to add an additional $400,000 to your practice this year. Okay. And when you break that down, that obviously breaks down these numbers much more manageable. You need to add an additional 34 consultations per month. Okay. All right, awesome. So very easy to use, very, very powerful. Now, once you have the calculator in place, and this is yours, you can use this calculator. Please do calculator.clinicgrower.com. The second tab here, just up top, this is your budget planner, okay? And we're going to get in and talk about this here in just a moment. So the budget planner is, this is crucial because we now understand what our goals are. We understand the numbers that we're looking to hit. We understand why we're doing this in the first place. And now this is where we really start to get the rubber closer to the road. So we want to understand how we're going to start allocating different portions of our budget, what percentage we're going to invest, and what percentage we're going to put on different mediums. Because when we talk about making an impact, it's about inputs, investing dollars or investing time and resources, for example, whether that's going out in the community and understanding what the labor costs are and the time costs and those sorts of things, or investing in marketing and advertising. There's going to be that input, that investment that's going to generate the outputs that we're looking for here. And when you're tracking the results, that's going to enable you to see the return on investment and track the progress of those investments that you're making. So real simple with the budget planner here. So we've got the annual revenue and marketing investment. And let's say our annual revenue target, we're keeping it simple at the 1.5 million. And we'll see typically there's a couple of reference points here. If you're in aggressive growth, and I would say that there's practices perhaps that are, doing under maybe 40, 50,000, looking to get to that 100,000, they're investing more in those early stages to get to an increased patient base so that they have the repeat patients coming through. But it's about generating new patients and new business for younger practices or practices that are in aggressive growth mode. Private equity companies, of course, as well, will invest heavily in growth in order to chew up market share. So just understand what stage of your business you're in is going to be crucial as well. I see an average of about, somewhere in the 8 to 10% range for practices that are investing in their marketing. So we'll just use that 8% number in this case. That's going to mean that for that $1.5 million revenue target, you're going to be looking to invest a monthly marketing budget around about $10,000. Okay. Now, with your monthly marketing budget, you're going to have different allocations. At Clinic Grower, it's primarily digital marketing. We do some offline activations, but the marketing budget, we're always going to suggest that you need to be some diversity. Okay. If you're investing in a portfolio, diversification, Warren Buffett will tell you that is the key. And I'll be here and I will tell you as well that having a diversification in your marketing is important. So you're going to want to allocate a portion to online marketing. We're going to really talk heavily about that today and get into strategy in a few minutes. And also offline marketing. What are you doing in different areas of offline, for example, with maybe the traditional newspaper? Maybe there is that glossy magazine that gets in the right hands, and you're building your brand locally to attract those premium patients. Those sorts of things are going to be factors that you're going to be able to build into a budget allocation. And also the least expensive patient that you will be able to attract is a current patient, or getting a referral from a current patient. And so allocating a portion of your budget to that repeat business, to gifting, for example, to gift baskets, to a referral program, in order to stimulate that referral and increase word of mouth and to get more business from your current business. Okay. So you'll be able to spend more time on this after the presentation today, but this is where you also get a little bit more granular, and then you could break your online marketing portion into the budget allocation for paid advertising. Okay. For SEO, we'll say if you're doing 40% on paid ads, 30% on SEO, 20% on social media, and then 10% on other online marketing. Might include some of your directories, that might include some of the retargeting and some of those types of elements as well. So that will then break out a monthly planner for you, a budgeting planner, the total marketing budget for the year, online marketing, offline marketing, and it keeps it in a nice, organized, clean calculator for you so you can use that moving forward. Okay, give me a little number in the chats if everybody's got that. We're going to move forward, but I wanted to make sure to give you access to these tools today. Just give us a yes if you now have access to that and if you're going to use it moving forward. Because we are going to move forward here as well. Awesome. Love it. Okay, cool. So as we move forward, we are going to ensure that we understand what our goals are, that we're getting ready to put a plan in place. We've got budget ready to put that plan together. And this is where a lot of practices can get stuck. Even with the goal, they don't really have any cohesive strategy or engine. So we're going to get into that here in the next few minutes. And we're going to talk about that right now. We're going to get into some of the marketing strategy. I know that's what a lot of you came here for, but it's so important to understand, first of all, our goals, what we're shooting for, and then to have a calculator to ensure that we're allocating budgets appropriately for some of the quote unquote fun stuff here. So, all right, we're going to get into marketing strategy, and I'm going to maybe do some mini crash courses here with some of the components to figure out how we can deploy some of those financial resources so that you can build a system to make those numbers possible that we just went through to this point. Okay. And so Wilson, when it comes to creating that growth engine or that system in order to attract and convert more patients and grow your business, the way we see it at Clinic Grower and the way we build our plans for our clients is there's a number of key pillars. It's about attracting or seducing new leads, keeping the new patient inquiries coming in so that you can continue to grow the business. It's also about ensuring that all those inquiries that are coming in, that there's an ease and a system in place to get those interactions, to get those appointments scheduled, to get those patients into the practice. Maximizing the show rates, which we'll talk a little bit about today, using technology, using trainings, because there is a number of practices that suffer from no-shows. And so you want to ensure that you've got really good strategy in place, not just to get the leads and appointments booked, but that you've got committed, intentional patients coming into your practice that are coming in to pay, stay, and refer. When this happens, of course, that gives you the opportunities that you want, that you need in order to convert those new patients and increase your sales. And then there's other pillars here that we're going to look at in components when it comes to scaling the business, when it comes to retention, and when it comes to tracking everything so that you can scale what's working and sometimes eliminate or cut things that just aren't working well. First thing we're going to talk about here is organic SEO. And this is something that has changed quite significantly over the last year, over the last couple of years. And what I want to tell you is that when you run a search today, the algorithm, it's just changed. The way in which search works today has changed. Being on Google isn't really just enough anymore. It's not the only place that patients are looking. So whatever the term or that search that patients might be typing, you've really got to have an understanding of the changing playing field is. And so we're going to talk just for a moment here about AEO and GEO. Let me see just in the chats. Give us a yes if you're familiar with AEO, answer engine optimization, and GEO, which is generative engine optimization. Kind of some, I'd say, not necessarily buzz right now, but they are some real factors that have just been, had some more names and these acronyms associated with them. So very, very important, because AEO is answer everything optimization. And this is understanding that what patients are looking for, what they're searching for, that your business, your web presence is providing those answers. When you think about it, patients are coming to your practice for problems that you can solve. And one of the first places that they start, and one of the first breadcrumbs that leads them to your practice, is them typing in that question or using voice on their phones typing that question. They may be going to ChatGPT, to Gemini, to ask that search for who's the best med spas in your area, for example, or who they should see in um, uh, Colorado for vein treatment, or the best plastic surgeon to see in Florida or Tampa for a facelift, for example. And so the difference with AEO and GEO is that GEO is generative engine optimization. And this is where you'll see summaries, AI summaries, and snippets on Google, for example. And the key difference really is that there's the Google snippets, there are multiple AI tools involved, and the result is that the answer everything optimization is more inside of Gemini and ChatGPT. And then the generative engine optimization, that's where the answers essentially are the search engines are generating those answers as we're typing them in. So I'm going to show a couple of examples here to basically describe the difference. So on the screen you're seeing on the left here, this is an example in ChatGPT for a searcher. Who is the best plastic surgeon near a certain area? And I always encourage you to do this. When we do calls with practices, we'll do audits on this with them to see how they are ranking here. And you want to ensure that you're ranking in these areas, that you're being suggested, that you're in the mix. Because the truth is that if you're not in the mix, then patients may never find out about you. Your website traffic may decrease because the traditional search engines, the traffic, some of it is being impacted by the AI SEO, for example, with AEO and GEO. Just for a live example here, I'm just going to pull over. I've got Gemini here. One I pulled a little earlier, and then we'll do a live one. So what's the best vascular surgeon in, again, Westminster, Colorado? And this is going, as you'll see, going into great detail, finding the best vascular surgeon. It provides some context on why they're looking and how they can do that, find the best doctor, the best practice for their treatment, for their surgery. And it's providing a number, as you'll see here, it's providing 3 main practices. And then it's also going down to provide kind of a short list of other options in the area and giving the patient some important next steps, some things to consider as they are considering that practice. So one thing that you can do is ask these questions within Gemini or within ChatGPT, and then really just understand what the outputs look like. And here's an example of answer everything optimization, verifying insurance. So one of the questions that you might want to answer on your website is, how can I verify my insurance before getting vein treatment? Is vein treatment covered by my insurance? What is the cost of Botox? What are the top risks of having Botox before going on a vacation? Those sorts of things, okay? ChatGPT, many of us use that. And so ChatGPT, real quick, this is where, again, you can go here and drop your search in for, what is in this case, we'll do a med spa, the best. This one, I'll share an example because I know one of our clients was very recently popping up for this particular search. And so, all right, so this is showing, again, the best med spa near Heath, Ohio. And so it's ranking the number of med spas in this case that are nearby. And so this is, again, we want to make sure that you're in the mix. As you'll see, the large language models, these LLMs, are also going as far to show maps and to really put that patient really close to that practice. Okay, so let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if you're tracking here. Give us a yes if everybody is on board here and understand. We can do a Q&A at the end as well. All right, cool. So again, this is in your workbook, but just want to show you and talk about the trends in 2026. And these are really, really important things to pay attention to. So the question then becomes, with all these changes on the SEO platforms, does traditional SEO even matter anymore? And the answer is yes, but it's no longer just the rankings. It's about patients, meeting them everywhere and understanding where people are putting their questions and where they're searching for information. So when it comes to key components of successful SEO in 2026, making sure that there's a foundation, that your website is fast, that it loads fast websites, that convenience for patients, making sure it's mobile optimized. When we do audits here, complementary audits for practices, for example, we do still see that there can be mobile websites that are just not conversion optimized, and that's going to obviously impact the number of leads that you're getting and appointments that are being booked, and also making sure that there's just minimal delays between interactions and moving around the website, and making sure it's a really smooth user experience, basically. Now, also making sure there's good content, really good quality content. We spoke a little bit earlier about that answer engine optimization. So these things contribute towards you ranking within ChatGPT and Gemini, making sure that you do have a well put together website, ensuring that there's really good content that answer the questions that patients are looking for. It also builds your authority as well to ensure that you're being positioned as the expert in the marketplace. And also then strong local signals. That's going to be your Google business profile, your local reviews, and also your name, address, and phone number, making sure that everything is in sync. These are kind of some of the quote unquote, boring aspects of SEO, but I can tell you the boring stuff, the consistent stuff, that's really what sets the foundation to generate revenue. So ensure that you have all of these components in place. Now, when you do, this is where you will see, because we see the before and after, similar to when you're treating patients, the before and after can be some of the most impactful part of the patient journey. And here, for example, just some statistics that we're showing with 42% of local searches involve clicks on that Google map pack. So the local map pack still major important when you're going to a restaurant, for example, when you're going to a doctor in a lot of areas, where you're looking for that specialist. Those local maps are going to be an important place to be, and it all plays into the search engines within the AI, the large language models as well. And so make sure that you've got a good strategy. Again, following on from some of the things we discussed before, reviews, good content, and ensuring that there's consistency with everything that's detailed about your business. So to kind of summarize the SEO component, Google is still king. Google is the platform for direct searches for a lot of obviously service-based businesses, such as our folks here on the call and our clients. But the generative engine optimization, answer everything optimization, this is a platform that's really catching up fast. Like, this is where people are spending more and more time, especially when having apps on their phones, whether it's Gemini or ChatGPT or something else. And many users are just asking those questions directly to AI. So this means that it's really important for you to show up in both places. And if you have any questions on this, you can reach out, get in touch. We will do a complimentary assessment for you to show you how you're showing up and to show you any gaps that you may be experiencing in your plan. So the new SEO formula in 2026, it's really, it boils down to a number of things. And that's making sure there's pages on the website, there's plenty of content, there's authority, meaning that that's good quality content, services, city pages, your expertise, reviews, and ensuring that the traffic is being tracked, because SEO and visibility is how you get found, but they don't really create urgency. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Having that SEO foundation is crucial. That's where people are looking, they're searching, they're researching, and they're driving traffic, and they're getting in touch. But we also want to look at how paid ads impact demand as well. And we're going to move that direction in just a few minutes. Again, if you are on the call today and you are curious about some improvements that you can make, you can reach out to us. We will put together a free digital marketing plan review for you. That's where we'll analyze your online visibility. We can create a local SEO heat map to show you how you're ranking. We'll run through a live audit and assessment with you to show you how you're showing up within the answer engine optimizations and the LLMs. And we'll really basically put together a report and show you how you're ranking, how you're looking relative to your competitors, and really do a full audit of your online presence. So reach out. You can either go to clinicroar.com/schedule or text us at 877-813-6873. Okay. And Julian, I think Julian will drop a link to that in the chat here as well. So SEO and visibility, they're how you get found. We're going to talk a little bit now about paid ads and paid media. And we get asked questions about this quite a lot. So first, we're going to talk about Google. Google is still king, as we spoke about on the search engines. And Google is can be such a lethal weapon from a paid ad standpoint when done correctly. And I'm not going to go too deep in training on how to do paid ads here, But I do think it's important to understand the right way to run ads and some of the things that you really need to consider if you're running your own ad campaigns or when you're looking to hire someone to run the ad campaigns for you. So one of the main things is, again, high level, having a cohesive strategy. So understanding some of the core services that you're looking to invest cash in order to generate return on investment. And so really thinking about it from the perspective of when you get a lead, an appointment for a patient, perhaps for whether it's vein treatment or for a laser facial or for a specific surgery, is understanding, what's the revenue that's going to be generated from that initial transaction, and what is the lifetime value of that patient too. Especially when it comes to something like Botox, which can be a gateway to get new patients, is really understanding and having confidence that you do have a good retention system, that you're not just going to, burn cash on getting that patient one time, but this is going to generate a return for you. So having a strategy to do that. Also strategies to ensure that you've got ads that are talking about the specific services you want to get more patients for, landing pages that are very direct to get those patients and convert them to your business. Okay. So most practices don't really fail because of the ads, but because the system behind them is broken. And so there's a number of components here that you really need to pay attention to. Boring ad copy, you want to make sure that it's compelling, that it gets the attention, and making sure that there's a speed to lead as well. Okay, making sure that we have, once the leads are coming in, that there's systems in place to speak to those people, to get those appointments scheduled. And so one of the things I like to look at here and share is, when you take a look, for example, here at just these two samples of Google Ads, ask yourselves, which one would you click on? And if you take a minute here, you'll notice some kind of inconsistencies with one of the ads. Is both ads are being displayed for best mommy makeover within Tampa as the city, but one of them is quite generic and it's actually talking about different services. The other ad is really dialed in. So they've got their keyword targeting in place. They've got really good ad copy. They're showing their experience and they're really maximizing the real estate of the ad space. So the winner is always the one that really speaks to the emotion and the urgency and really reaches the right patient in the right time with the right message. Now, with Google, it's going to be an intent-based search. And with Meta, which is Instagram and Facebook, it's also really about the right message to the right person in the right place. And this is about starting new conversations and nurturing them to become patients at our practice. So with Google, for example, Google Ads, typically those leads, those patients are going to be closer to the bottom of the funnel towards coming into the practice. They're in a higher level of intent because they're looking for the specific thing, the specific problem to solve. Whereas with Meta, this is where, think about, you're reaching there's about 3% in any market that is ready to buy. And what that means is that Google, you're going to pay a little bit more to reach those patients that are closer to buying. And the opportunity for so many practices is to effectively target the other 97% with the right messaging, filter in the right type of patients, and kind of use ad copy and creative and the different components that go into really good ads in order to make sure you're getting the right patient, but also filtering out the wrong type of patients. Okay. And that comes down to creative, to ad copy, to really strong calls to action, CTAs, as we say, and also conversion optimized landing pages. So fundamentals of a winning ad campaign, that's going to be, number one, targeted audience. So geographically, demographically, ad copy is used today on Meta. There was an update called Andromeda that was done a little while ago. So really important to have really clear messaging and engaging content that, again, attracts and pulls the right person and gets them to lean in to their phone or to their computer because the ad copy speaks to them. It's also about conversion optimized landing pages. So again, a big cardinal sin that I see many businesses make and many practices that I'll do audits on. They're running ads on Facebook or Instagram, but the button to book appointment or learn more goes to their homepage. And that's just a very, very quick way to burn cash. So make sure that we've got really good strategy and we're directing patients in the right area. We're building trust with testimonials. We're showing patients, other patients that have come to visit, maybe showing them some reviews, and we're using call to action. We're telling them what to do. Click now, reach out, schedule your appointment, call us, those sorts of things. And also at the end of the day, having really good analytics to track everything, which we'll dig a little bit deeper into here in just a few minutes. So one of the things in 2026 saying actually is using video in order to educate, to inspire, and to attract patients. And so that particular video is about a vein consultation. He's talking about the consultation. He wants patients to be educated on what's going to happen in that consultation, what they're going to discuss, and then attracting them to come in and book their own consultation. What we're seeing here is some different examples of videos that educate, inspire, and attract. Sometimes it can be about busting some of those myths or answering the questions in the patient's mind, busting those Botox myths. This one here, this is a great video that performs very well. It's showing the procedure. It's kind of a show and tell. It's showing the magic show to patients. Worked extremely well. And then the patient review here as well, which is some of that authentic content. It's got the provider and the patient, those types of videos, that type of content works extremely well, especially when it's done in a short form that we spoke about a little earlier. So content really builds that trust, and trust is what creates bookings and appointments. So when it comes to staying top of mind, so we've got the content, we're on the ad platforms. You need to consider what's your best mix, or of course, if you have questions, you can reach out to us. But one thing that we see time and time again, when we have practices that are working with us or have just set things up in the correct way, is that when patients see you everywhere, when you've got your ad strategy, your retargeting, and everything in place, that's when you become a household name, or that you create that celebrity status in their mind. And this is where they stop shopping and they really start looking. And it's about those impressions, and it's about winning the trust of those patients. They need to know, like, and trust you, again, which we've shown through some of the content here. And retargeting is an awesome way to do that as well. Very important. What you need to do is ensure that you have accounts open up within some of the platforms that you're going to want to advertise on, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, Google, YouTube. If you need help doing this, of course, we will do this for you. And it's about placing some of the tracking code within the landing pages on your website. And then that's when patients are seeing you everywhere on their phone, when they're reading the New York Times, their local blogs, on their Facebook feed, and you're there delivering that educational, inspirational, and content that's going to attract them into your practice. So some of the things that we spoke about have been content, the platforms. And I want to talk a little bit just about the power of data-driven insights, because without data, you really don't know what's working or what's bleeding. And, I think it's maybe a trend or a path that a lot of practices take, where they'll jump on the platform, they'll spend money, but the tracking isn't set up correctly, and then the campaigns will underperform. But it's about measuring everything twice, making sure that the tracking is set up correct, making sure that there's testing that's done. And then with good analytics and having everything in place, you're going to be able to make better decisions, to track that performance, optimize the campaigns, and to scale what's working, and very importantly, to cut what's not working there as well. So without good tracking in place, that's where there's really just a lack of understanding. It's kind of like when you can be, again, floating or caught up in the winds and drifting in the wrong direction. And that's where you can, again, start burning cash as part of your marketing budget. Here's a few just examples. If you are doing Google ads as an example, these screenshots are going to look familiar. This is going to be in your Google ads dashboard. And it's crucial, again, when we do audits, we see that sometimes this isn't set up correctly, even by other agencies that have worked there before. So you want to ensure that you have all the tracking set up correctly, that the pixels, the code is set up, that the call tracking is set up correctly, because if the information is not being fed back correctly to Google or to Instagram or Facebook, then it's not giving the platform a fair chance to go and get more of those conversions and more of those patients for you. So here you're seeing the number of conversions, tracking the cost per click. That's all within those dashboards. We also have a CRM, or we can give access to you to that CRM to track things at deeper levels as well. But you want to ensure that you've got conversion rates that are strong, making sure there's a good, strong cost per lead. Okay, the cost per lead is really the most important part of the equation. So just ensuring that there's appropriate cost per lead and that you're tracking everything at every stage through the funnel. Meta is going to look a little different, but again, making sure you have that Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram dashboards, set up correctly, that you're able to track each of those KPIs. How many new patients or much of the population are you reaching, right down to how many of those patients or prospects are coming through to landing pages, how many are generating their leads, they're filling in an online survey or a form, and then how many of those are actually booking appointments from the ads. When you have this data set up correctly, that's what you need in order to steer the platform in the right direction. Again, without data, you just don't know what's working or what's bleeding. Okay. Let me know if there's anybody here that is advertising. Just drop an ads in the chat if you are currently advertising. Love to see how many of us here are doing that. All right. So key data to track: the conversion rate, the percentage of visitors who take that desired action, the cost per acquisition, again, the cost of acquiring those new patients, what's the return on investment, the profitability of your marketing campaigns, and really importantly, what's that lifetime value? What does that patient generate from repeat visits? How long do you keep patients for? And what's the value of a referral? When you understand that, that can, in many cases, that can give you the necessary data that you need to have the budget, realizing that you can spend $200 or $300 for a patient that's going to generate two or three or four or $10,000 over the course of their lifetime. And again, having the right structure in place for your business, delivering an incredible patient experience is going to be the pillar and the cornerstone of that. But then when you have those components in place, investing marketing dollars in the right way to generate new patients is proven to be successful. So next, we're going to take a look at some other components here when it comes to the new patient journey, to nurturing those conversations. And one thing that we use for a lot of our practices, and we see in 2026, is that there's still an opportunity for many websites that we see is using chat widgets and AI. When they're combined, a chat widget on the website to generate more leads and to attract new patients, that's where it generates more conversations. And those are the conversations that you need in order to connect with patients. So it's really about instant conversations, not voicemail. Some examples here of those chat widgets, very easy to put on websites, but very, very effective. They start off as just a little bubble in the corner, and then the patient can expand them so that you can have that lead that then goes into an automation, okay? Online scheduling. Convenience is key for patients. We need to reach them and provide for them to help them solve the problems that they're looking to solve. And so when it comes to online scheduling, convenience just converts. So ensuring that you do have an element of online scheduling in place so that you can, at a bare minimum, have an opportunity to let patients request their appointment time, giving them the ability to just see dates and times helps them to provide that satisfaction from what they were looking for, which is an opportunity to schedule, an opportunity to match calendars, okay? You'll see here as well, just some really strong call to actions on make sure you do have those on your website when it comes to getting patients scheduled, book now, call today, and ensuring that there's a really good process in the back end in order to nurture those leads as well. So your website, it's either booking patients or it's bouncing them. You want to ensure that you have things set up correctly so that your website is warm, it's welcoming, great user experience, and great conversion mechanisms to get those patients booked. There's basically 12 critical elements that we've outlined here. And in your workbook, of course, you have access to this as well. And I always encourage everybody to rate this versus your current performance. Make sure that you're speaking to your ideal patient, that there is authenticity on the website. So real images, certainly there needs to be images of the staff, of the team. I'm still surprised when I check websites for medical practices and there's just no image or reference to the staff. It's a big turnoff for a lot of patients. Using video, multimedia, great opportunity to hear the founder message, to understand why you're doing what you're doing, leveraging that social proof, and really using these components here to ensure that you're making offers and your website is being optimized, and you're using some of the components that we've already been through, chat widgets, speed, making sure there's really strong site speed, and using automation to engage patients through phone and through SMS. Now, one question that we're going to try and answer here a little bit as well is, to this point, we've looked at some of the marketing components that really fill the funnel. And I'll speak to a lot of practices that's not always their main problem. So we want to ask, is lead flow the problem? And the hard truth is that even great ads won't solve a broken system, because if leads aren't handled effectively and properly, then they're going to leak through the gaps in the system. So I'm just going to share with you some of the most common areas where most practices are bleeding money. And the most common is that just unattended patient leads. About 50 to 60% of leads in most practices are left unconverted. Phone call will come in, text message will get buried, Facebook message will get buried, the team gets busy, 4 days later, 5 days later, they get to respond, and these things just snowball so that these leads pile up. The conversations go unanswered, and the patients that have asked their question through a voicemail, through a phone call, through a missed call, a text message, they don't get answered quickly enough, and they go somewhere else. And so, on average, 70% of leads are only followed up with once, meaning that the phone call was made, the text was sent, and then the team member is moving on. So it's just that it's tragic, because especially when you're investing time for that website, you're investing in growing the business, and perhaps you've invested in marketing and advertising, having these components in place is crucial. So the solution here is really to generate a speed to lead. We've got to ensure that leads are followed up with quickly, ideally within those 5 to 15 minutes when they're at that peak interest point. And the average customer also needs to be followed up with. They may be making that phone call right as they're jumping out of the car, after a quick sandwich, after dropping their kid back to school because he was sick, and they're jumping into the office or into the practice or into the business. So just understanding how busy people are today. As a business owner, you understand that in many ways yourself, but ensuring there's a speed to lead here and a system to generate that speed to lead, whether it's through call, SMS, or a specific way that patients wanted to reach out. Okay. So the solution is to make sure you're deploying some type of automation, okay? It's still a major opportunity for a lot of practices that I speak with that don't have a simple email automation when a lead comes in. They don't have a consent button on their opt-in form so they can text message that patient back. The text message is really key today. You can do that with speed and engagement. The response rate is a main leading factor in getting appointments booked. So just ensuring you got a plan for speed to lead, and feel free to reach out to us. If you don't, we'll be happy to share what's working in greater detail and have a look and do an assessment on your practice. Now, this is what happens when you plug the leaks. What we're seeing this is another before and after. When the leaks are plugged, then the problem is suddenly solved. And so what we're seeing on the left here is this was before there was an answering that was basically when phone calls were being missed. So we deployed our appointment booking concierge team for this practice. And as you can see, they went from missing 30% of actual calls coming in. This is an established practice. They were quite busy, but with calls and new patient leads coming in, 3 out of 10 were going missed and unanswered. And so making sure that every call was handled, that no leads slipped through the cracks, led to just basically 100%, a 99% of these leads are being handled, or basically close to 100%. So massive opportunity. And this, of course, this practice, like we do for a lot of practices, where the team, our appointment booking concierge team, are taking fees, credit cards, so generating revenue from each of those calls as well. So major opportunity. That one example, of course, Dr. G, so very, very similar. She was having that same issue. Calls were slipping through, and despite implementing that plan over the course of 30 days, it really transformed her business. And I think these things can transform you if you don't have them in place. If there is no automation, if there is no AI following up, and if the phone calls themselves just aren't being answered, I'm sure that everyone at our businesses are great people, but if we're not connecting with the new people that are getting in touch, then there's real missed opportunities. So when it comes to scale, there's things that we want to make sure we're covering on the 2026 growth plan here, especially in first quarter. Reviews. Reviews are so important. We talk about it on every one of our presentations, because going back even just to the changes with search engine optimization, having a system in place to generate reviews consistently is one of the most important factors in being recommended by the search engines and by the AI search engines, ChatGPT and Gemini. Where the consistent reviews are coming in, Google, Gemini, ChatGPT, they're scanning these online tools, and they're seeing what patients are saying, what the sentiment is, and they're using those ingredients to formulate their answer. So you want to ensure you have a plan in place to grow reviews and to get more reviews. I won't go into that anymore here, but needless to say that you just really need to have a review plan in place, leverage automation, and use training to ensure that every new patient who's had a good experience, and hopefully that's most of them, that they're being asked for a review. They don't yet have to have had 6 treatments. They don't yet to have had that transformation that they're looking 10 years younger, but asking patients that they've had a good experience is really key, okay? So a good example, again, that this was New Jersey Vein and Aesthetic Center. And what we can see here is that they actually had no reviews when we first started working with them. They had a Google business profile, but had neglected or not gotten to the point of getting reviews. And so by employing and deploying a plan in order to get reviews, number one, it just rapidly increased their ranking on the search engines. Number two, that's now driving into the AI SEO results. And number three, it increases traffic and the phone calls that they're generating. So just know that reviews will enable you to increase your rankings when done correctly, and also feed into some of the other components that we've been speaking about as well. So ensuring that you've got a Google business profile that's set up correctly, that you've got reviews coming in. And also, as we're seeing here, those Google business profiles really should be warm and welcoming, displaying some of the personality of the practice that we can see here, displaying some of the authority of the doctor perhaps, or of the owner, and really just making it more personalized. I still see a lot of Google business profiles that are maybe a bad picture of a building and then a stock image, and they're just not really going to attract patients. So make sure you got the right components in place there as well. When it comes to scale, understanding the power of the dollars in your database is key as well. For some of you, you already have money sitting in the database. You just haven't really been talking to it, or you haven't been connecting with it. So having a system to nurture your contact base and make offers to them. Understand that if they're in the database and they're maybe getting a monthly newsletter, then that's nice. That's better than nothing. But ensure that you're regularly communicating with them and segmenting the database to let them know about offers, let them know about the new annual membership, let them know about the new event that you're having. Send those emails, those text messages, and ensure that you got a plan in place to really leverage that database. So next, we're going to look at the major opportunity when it comes to referrals, building more repeat business and more referrals. And so here's a look, for example, this is just a dashboard actually on the tracking side for one of our med spas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so what we've seen here is that over the course of a duration, and this was actually tracked over the course of a year, is that we're looking at the number one, the revenue growth. So everything's being tracked to a granular level, but also the lifetime value of patients on the back end has been tracked so that we could see the referrals that are being generated and the overall revenue growth that is being tracked through not only the marketing, but also the volume of patients that are coming in and the new patients that are being generated through that word of mouth as well. So make sure that you've got a referral plan in place. And number two, just ensure that you have a tracking dashboard, that you have those analytics on hand. They're easy to get and they're easy to see so that you can ensure you can see what's working and understand the return on your investments as well. Okay. So we're getting close to the end of the presentation for today. I mean, we've spoken about scaling. When you're scaling, just understand what you need to spend more money on. Sometimes it is as simple as that. I'll speak with practices or do audits on their accounts, and it comes down to, okay, we need to improve here, but also you need to spend more, invest more in certain areas. It's not always the case. Sometimes you've got really good retention. You don't need to attract as many new patients. So there's other areas of your plan that you need to emphasize and focus on. That's why we've been through this session today, to understand what you need to focus on next. So we've covered quite a little bit here over the last hour, give or take. We've covered the goals, the math behind the achieving the goals, what demand looks like, how you can generate demand and conversion. And I know I've done about a full hour here so far. My goal was to make sure that you had a clear roadmap, a clear strategy. So I'd love if you could just give me a rating from 1 to 10, just to let me know that, how this has been. Has this been helpful? Has this helped to give you food for thought? Has this helped to provide information or tools or resources that you are going to use in order to take action to grow your business and to make those changes that you want to make in 2026? I'd love to see a number. 10. Awesome. Well, thank you. Awesome. Really appreciate that. Yeah, team, we're here for you. Thank you. Love the 10s coming through. Ensure that you have the workbook, you have obviously the information that we've discussed here. I also want you to just to think, and again, this comes back down to the why, what things will look like when you make these changes, when you're set up for success in 2026. Really put yourself in that place for a few minutes after, whether it's right now on the call or after the call today. We're in the beginning of January. We're seeing momentum in many of our practices, but I want you to ask what this would look like for you. What would it mean for you when you're generating that success? What is that thought? What are you saying when you've achieved that revenue growth? What does that look like from maybe you're hiring more staff, maybe you're doing other things in your community, maybe you're doing something different from a lifestyle standpoint. So important to do that. Really want to encourage everybody to make sure they're reflecting on their growth throughout the different courses of the year. And again, we're here for you if you want any help building the system to help you to attract new patients. We're here to give you the audit, the marketing assessment. We'll cover everything from ads, SEO, website, internal systems. We'll put together a complimentary growth plan for you, uncover any of the hidden opportunities that may be right there at your fingertips. And for anybody who schedules one of those appointments with us, we're also happy to give you a complimentary copy of the book that we did a couple of years ago, which is Digital Marketing and Sales for Aesthetic Practices. And so I really appreciate everybody being here. There is no obligation, of course, if you schedule an appointment with us. We just want to ensure that we're here delivering value for you. And honestly, you'll walk away with massive value in terms of what you can accomplish in 2026. So if that's something you'd like to schedule, just reach out. You can hit that clinicgrower.com schedule or visit or text 877-813-6873. Would love to speak with you and find out how we can help you. And again, at the end here, make sure, I know this is about like a little after 8 on an Eastern, a little bit earlier in Pacific. Maybe carve out those 15 minutes, go through that workbook, schedule some time onto your calendar to do the things that you need to do and ensure that we're tracking them and you're tracking the progress throughout the year. Everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate everybody making it here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them into the chats here. Happy to answer any questions. We have a little bit of time that we can use to do that. We do have a question here. Lacey, thank you. So how long does it take for a website redo and new SEO to optimize? Yeah, it can depend, but typically for a new, a website redo, typically I'll say 6 to 12 weeks. The reason I'll say that is it's going to depend what you're looking for. For us, for example, we really want to understand exactly what our practices need. So, for example, when we're creating websites, we'll try and, if you're at $1 million practice and you want to get to 2 million, we're going to build you a $2 million website. What that looks like, where you're going, make sure that it really has that authority, that it looks and feels amazing. And we go through multiple iterations to get that website for you. So 6 to 12 weeks is a good expectation to have there, Lacey, for how long it takes to do a website redo. It could actually be quicker if it's just a simple redo. Maybe you already like the brand code that you have. Maybe you like a lot of the components and there's a lot of existing content, and it could be maybe a smaller, perhaps cosmetic and a conversion tweak, and that might be a few weeks. So just to give you an idea there. And then for new SEO to optimize, great question. I spoke with a practice yesterday that's in a market where they're in a Michigan market, just as an example, and they got a pretty nice website, one that looks good but has some conversion things to fix. The SEO component is non-existent. So the website looks good, but the traffic is zero. So it's like they have a beautiful practice, a beautiful business, website looks really good, but there's no one finding out about it. And so there's what we've identified as low-lying fruit. So that's going to be a number of different services that they're not ranking for, and the competition is kind of sleeping on. And so we always create plans that you see progress 30, 60, 90 days for SEO to really kind of quote unquote kick in, or to come together with multiple services and really increasing the ranking into the maps. I would say 6 months is an appropriate timeline to use when you're assessing the performance, but you really should be seeing through consistent reports and data that you'll be able to see, or whoever you're working with will share with you. You'll be seeing much quicker progress there as well. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you'd like to reach out, we're happy to go through a complimentary audit for you to let you know what that looks like as well, Lacey. I want to wish everybody a tremendous finish to January. The year is up and running, and I want to ensure that you all have what you need. So feel free to reach out, visit us at clinicgrower.com, or of course, you can go to clinicgrower.com/schedule, speak with us. We love connecting, and we're happy to help you out. Okay, that's it for now, team. I want to wish everybody a tremendous rest of the day, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on a call coming up soon.